The Leominster City Council meeting is funded in part by DeCarolis Insurance Agency at www.decarolisinsuranceagency.com and by Avidia Bank at www.avidiabank.com.
Good evening. The continued hearing for the marijuana facility, Middlesex. We continued it from the last meeting because there were principals who were not able to join us due to a number of different reasons. So in order to give them an opportunity to be present, we continued it to tonight. So at this point, we have Kevin Crowley, the owner of the facility, Chief Mulattoes, Luke Bolak, our code enforcement, and I can't see who's in the back.
Jim Pomerini.
Jim Pimarini, okay, thanks. And sir, could you identify yourself?
My name is Stephen Chasen.
And you're with Epicol?
Correct.
Yeah. Okay. If you would like to take a seat at the table for any questions we might have.
Sure, and I also have the attorney for the receiver, Mr. Engel, on the phone here. If he needs to answer any questions, he's available here.
Okay. I know I asked a lot of questions the last time, so at this point, I was going to turn it over to the committee and see if they had any questions they'd like to ask. Councilor Shalif, is that? I also want to acknowledge Councilor Frank Eidinger. Councilor Elijah is also with us tonight, but the committee consists of Councilor Shalif Zephyr and Councilor Robbins. We also have the attorney from KP Law with us as well. So, Councilor Shalif?
I don't really have any questions. I mean, if the receiver has anything to add to the conversation that we had last time, you know, I'd be listening to that, but I don't have any questions at this point.
Okay, Councilor Robbins?
Yeah, I don't really have any questions either. I think we got a lot of information at the last hearing, so I agree with the counselor to my right. If there's additional information that either Mr. Crowley or either the attorney for the receiver want to add, happy to listen to it.
Mr. Chasen, I'll let you, if you have anything that you'd like to add or anything that if you could check your microphone in front of you there and make sure it's on. The red light should come on.
Yes. Oh, beautiful. So I'll actually turn it over to Mr. Carter, the attorney for the receiver, Mr. Engel, the receiver for MIM. Nick, do you want to say anything?
Well, what we discussed before, I don't know if the committee can hear me, but,
They can.
all right, so thank you
Put it
all.
closer to the mic.
Sorry I can't be present. There's nothing new to add. We are acting pursuant to a stipulation with Mohawk Drive, which has been endorsed by the United States Bankruptcy Court. My understanding is the grow operations have ceased, and the cannabis will be cleaned out by the end of this month, and then there's a month period of cleaning out the equipment from the facility, and that will be the end of the cannabis operation at the facility in Leominster.
Okay. Anybody have any questions for Mr. Carter?
What was the agreed upon date that you would be out of the building?
August 31st.
Okay. So it sounds like that you will be out of there sooner than that.
I don't know about sooner because there's a period of 1 to 2 months at the discretion of the receiver, depending upon how long it takes to remove equipment.
Okay.
Hey, Councilor Shalfo Zephyr, you good?
Mr. Crowley, you all set with that? The agreed upon date?
That's true.
Okay.
You're okay with that, Kevin?
Yeah, I mean, we didn't really, we just had to pursue it through the court to get them out. That's what we did.
For now, I'd like to ask the police chief, if he has any questions or comments. I know you've been involved in it in the past.
We would only ask that as soon as this is official, that we be notified officially.
Okay.
I just, so we don't run afoul of that, what is that, what do you mean, as soon as it's official? I've just reported what the most official procedural posture is.
Are you
I
looking?
suppose we could report when we are fully and finally out. Is that what would be helpful?
May I approach to it?
Yeah,
Yes,
do.
please.
From the police department's point of view, is this on?
I don't think so, Chief. There you go.
From the police department's point of view, what we would just respectfully ask is notification when you're officially, when the building's vacant, and that is for just the purposes of the officers responding to an emergency for that location. We just want to be able to notify who the party is that we had to contact in the event of some kind of emergency, that's all. And I think that's more than reasonable.
Well, that sounds very reasonable. I'm thinking that really will be Kevin Crowley or Mohawk Drive's responsibility as the owner of the property, because my client will no longer have any role there. We'll notify Kevin Crowley. He'll know.
Yeah, once they're officially out, that'd be great.
Sure.
That's all we ask.
Yep, that sounds fun.
I mean, you've been great, so thank you.
Kevin, do you have a problem notifying the police as soon as
No,
they?
I don't. No, I
Okay.
don't. Once
He's been
it's-
very great to deal with, so, yeah.
Councilor Shalfo Zephyr, you had a question, I know?
I did. This is for the attorney. What would be helpful from my perspective is if Mr. Carter, excuse me, could put what he just said in writing. If he could write a brief letter to the city council, to Councilor Frieda, who's the chair of this committee, just outlining, these are the dates that we agree. You know, the operations have ceased. We're in the process of taking equipment out of the building. We will be cleaning the building, and we will be out of there by 8:31. So we just have that documented and everybody's on the same page. I think that would be helpful. And if you would copy Chief Mulatto's on that as well, that would be really helpful.
Okay, I can certainly forward the bankruptcy order, which lays that out. I think that would be fine. I can send that along. That lays out those deadlines. And that's fine.
I think that would be helpful, but I'd also like your stipulation that, that you're proceeding according to the attached bankruptcy document. I think that would be helpful.
Okay, that's fine.
Thank you.
I also want to get the input, and I apologize, I didn't see you behind Kevin before. Luke Bolak, our code enforcement officer, if you have anything you'd like to add?
Yeah, may I approach? Microphone. Good evening, everybody. Essentially, the one thing I'm kind of concerned about is just decommissioning bond that was supposed to be supplied to the city if something was to go afoul. I mean, I don't know how Mr. Engel's going to remove all of this, everything in the property, and we would hate to see a landowner get stuck with all of this stuff. Pursuant to our municipal ordinances, he was supposed to get a bond. We've been asking for one for a year. It hasn't been presented. So I'd kind of like to know the situation and status with that.
Well, if that's a question to me,
Right.
my understanding is that the bankruptcy court has the jurisdiction of this matter, and there's an order in place from the United States Bankruptcy Court to do the steps I outlined earlier, and that's the assurance backed by an order of the United States Bankruptcy Court.
Okay, so what you're saying is that there's no decommissioning bond in place. Is that where I'm getting at? Mr. Carter?
Nick, did you copy that? Nick, it's correct, there's no bond in place right now, correct?
I don't believe so.
Okay.
There hasn't been a bond in place for quite some time.
Correct.
It's been part of that was an initial
was-
agreement that never took place.
Correct. And one of their agents or insurance agents had actually reached out to us not too long ago in regard to it when the subcommittee first came about. And they said, yep, we should have it by the end of today. And we haven't seen it since.
Is that something we need to be concerned about?
Well, I do think the city has the right to require that as part of the zoning ordinance.
What I do know, I can say that efforts were made regarding a bond, and it was essentially cost prohibitive because they were requiring basically it wasn't like a typical bond where it would be a percentage of, let's say, a final judgment. It was basically put up the full cost yourself to remove it, which really was cost prohibitive. And we're removing it. So it really did not seem feasible because there wasn't a available bond that was in any way affordable.
Okay. And then one other question. Your bond with the Cannabis Commission under the 935 CMR 500, do you still have that bond for removing all of the cannabis products, including any THC products, oils, plants, or anything along those lines? Is that still active with the CCC at this point?
I don't know because that's not part of my scope of representation, so I can't answer that.
Okay.
I can say that responsibility falls on applicable.
Okay.
And that's being done and will be done.
Okay.
And I can follow up with you on that.
Okay. That's kind of all I have at this point, I believe.
Any follow-up questions? Okay, Counselor.
For Mr. Crowley, what kind of condition is the building in? Are you concerned at all as they take out equipment and clean up whatever product is left, what kind of shape they're going to leave the building in?
I don't know. They did substantial interior renovations. It used to be basically an open warehouse space. They've created offices, labs, steel mezzanines, grow rooms. My concern ultimately is that they take what they think is worth something and they leave the rest for me. But that's been my concern since day one, and I don't know what I can do about it. It certainly can't be leased as a warehouse space if they leave all their partitions and steel mezzanines. They added a second sprinkler system on top of my sprinkler system that's lower. So until they start moving stuff out, I really have no idea. I've been in there. The place, it's in good shape for what it's designed to be used for. But I don't know how much of a market there is. I don't know what they're gonna, I don't know how it's gonna be left.
What does bankruptcy court go into that? You know?
Yeah, I think there'll have to be a report to the bankruptcy court when there's compliance with the order.
Okay.
How do we move forward with regard to this? This is to our attorney. How do we move forward with regard to the positioning of their special permit? I mean, it still exists.
The special permit, technically, it's gone.
Yeah,
I mean, it's
believe it's still in effect, is my understanding.
Okay.
It is?
I don't think it is.
No.
Okay.
No, it was a 5-year special permit from my understanding, and that was back 2018.
I believe so, yes.
Okay.
With the conditions, obviously, that special permit be essentially renewed every year. They come forth with
Right.
all of their financials to make sure that they're still legal operation with DOR, make sure they're still legal operations with the city of Leominster, make sure that any taxes were paid up with us, as well as making sure that all the licenses were still active pursuant to the 935 CMR.
This might, I don't know who can answer this, but in terms of decommissioning the building and taking everything out, all the equipment, who is doing that? Does MIM still have employees and staff to do that, or are they hiring local, independent people who do that kind of work?
So as far as the marijuana and the marijuana products, that would be on Apical, and that will happen. I'm not sure how MIM is going to proceed, or who they're going to hire, or whatnot.
Okay.
Are you also involved in the Norwood and Waltham facilities as well?
Me personally, no.
So you were just Leominster?
Correct. I work for Apical, who contracted with MIM.
And is that with Mr. Engel or is that
Mr.
separate?
Engel is the receiver for MIM, yes.
And that part of the Blue Moon group, or is that separate?
I don't know what that is.
There are a number of names associated with Mr. Engel, so I just
I'm
didn't
not
know.
affiliated. I'm only affiliated with Apical and Middlesex and Integrative Medicine.
Full Moon Investments was the name of the investment firm. Full Moon Investments.
Okay, Chief, is there anything else you wanted to add?
I don't have anything else, thank you.
Luke, you good?
I'm good.
Kevin, you good?
No. If I could, I'd just like to take a minute to express a personal opinion as a city of Leominster, not as a representative of Mohawk Drive. Mr. Engel, Mr. Carter, MIM have done exactly what they tried to do and they set out to do at the very beginning, which is delay, obstruct, and continue to just push their way through, damn the torpedoes. Luke started chasing these guys after they were notified of a fire extinguisher issue. The fire department was notified a year ago. He did what he could do to try to get the information for you people and for the city. He was snowballed at every occasion, made promises, that never came to fruition. You heard at the last meeting, Mr. Engel's claim, not knowing anything ever. He's only receiver, including the last year and a half that he's been running the place. He couldn't give you any answers when you asked him yourself. I'm embarrassed as a city of Leominster, a resident, that this firm was allowed to continue to do this with no consequences. And when I say this firm, I mean them. I don't, Apical, whatever, that's their relationship with them. They came in and worked with MIM. Mr. Engel, Mr. Carter have done nothing but delay everybody, the bankruptcy court, all of it. And I'm just very disappointed that the city spent the time and the money for the last year trying to work with these people. And ultimately, basically, the answer they gave you is, we're leaving, so see you later. We don't have to answer to you, because that's what you just heard from Mr. Carter. That's all I have to say.
I don't disagree with you. Well, cannabis in Leominster was new to us in 2018. We spent a lot of time looking at the ordinances. I know I was quite firm that we weren't in place yet, and that we should have had another moratorium at that point, because I don't think we were ready. Clearly, somewhere along the line, this should not have gone 6 years with so many changes of hands, and we lost control of it in 3 facilities in the city. In 6 years, we only made $228,000 in revenue, which is certainly not, and two checks. And I'm not quite sure how this even was missed, but from April of 21 to August of 21, there were payments that were checks sent directly to Caitlin Huffman, which I'm not even sure why they would be made out to our clerk, for $5,416 apiece, for a total of $27,084. That's managed to go for 4 months in the beginning, and how that wasn't caught, really not sure. That shame on us. And this really needs to be looked at. We need to look at this ordinance. We need to look at a lot of things. And we've gone from Fat Panda to, I've never seen so many names attached to one business that we approved 6 years ago. It's been just a multiple of different names. So, there's a lot that was learned here. But I think we need to get something specific that they will be out by that date. We can check on that bond. We have the ability, according to our ordinances, to get that bond, but bankruptcy has nothing to do with that.
Yeah. I guess the question is, at what point do you try to force them to get the bond? Because that may require court action.
Excuse me.
Is that a question?
I just make a comment. The bankruptcy has to do with Mohawk Drive Corp. Middlesex Integrated is not in bankruptcy. They're in a receivership with the state, which I don't understand how that works, because there appears to be no oversight from the state.
Well, I think that's...
As far as the receivership goes. But
Right.
the bankruptcy jurisdiction really only has to do with us and them as a tenant. Doesn't have anything to do with their business, so to speak.
Right.
Okay, just want to make sure
And,
that's...
in receivership, it's unfortunate that the creditors can't line up and get nothing. So, that's...
We don't even get reports from the state. I have never received one document from the state as a creditor of MIM that's been in receivership for a year and a half. The only information we found out was through secondhand sources. So that's the state. I
Councilor Robbins?
Yeah, I guess first, I'll start with my somewhat silly question, or sounds silly in my head, is, how do we as a special committee, or a council, make sure that when that August date comes, that they hold true to it and everything is out, I know that's what's being said, and we have to take them on their word for it. But if they decide tomorrow that they want to try to start operations back up, I want to make sure
that can't happen.
I understand that, but a lot of things have gone the way they should not have gone. And, I also understand that Luke has not been in this position he's currently in for the whole tenure of this. But I think having him in this position helps to make sure this doesn't happen with them or someone else again. So I have that gives me a lot of confidence that we won't end up here again with them or with someone else.
And in fairness of the police department, I don't think there were a lot of police issues in the past. I think those just started more recently. So it's not something that
No, but
that
I mean,
the police
I'm
must do.
looking at it more from a just procedural
No,
ordinance
right.
matter. Like, I can see how some of this might have gotten lost without somebody like Luke looking at it. And thank God the mayor had him look at it, because we really realized the issues that lie here. And I hope that if we end up with somebody else petitioning and getting a special permit, we can stay up on making sure they follow the steps that are in the ordinance, because
Well,
there's
that's
a
why
reason
I'm
that they're
saying
there.
We need to look at this ordinance because something didn't work right. That's
Right.
what I'm saying, that we need to look at that again. I'm kind of concerned.
So I guess I'd like if you can give me a better answer to my first question. I don't know that it exists, but
Well, I think one of the key requirements of the ordinance is the yearly check-in with the council. And I think going forward, for the operators that are still going to be operating, I think enforcing that is going to be key to ensure that they stay on the right track.
And then that's what we need to find out, because there has been, it is in the ordinance that there's an annual report and there's a yearly presentation to the council, and that none of that ever happened.
Yeah, according to our ordinances, they're supposed to submit financial reports by January 31st
Right.
of the year for the
To the
prior-
council.
To council for their prior
And
fiscal year,
to come before us as well.
as well as come forth and explain their operating and how things are rolling out for them and what their future is. Like I said, we have yet to see any of that from them, even asking for the last year. We've yet to see a thing of it. Matter of fact, the receiver actually asked me for last year's reports. And I says, how can I give you those if we've never seen them? So
well, I just think it's important that we do take a look at the ordinance as a whole and figure out how we can start to enforce it
Well,
more.
and I am concerned that a receiver that would go to a code enforcement officer and not come to council or to the mayor, it would be an issue too, when the ordinance clearly states that, the council is involved in it. And that's a step that was certainly missed. But, we can't go back, we can go back after, but Councilor Shalfo?
Right, so just to address, I guess, procedurally, between now and the end of August, Luke, can you check in?
Absolutely.
And, check all of these milestones that they're
Yeah.
supposed to be meeting?
Yeah, of course.
And then you can let the council know?
Yep.
And the mayor know?
Absolutely.
That this is what's happening, and then you can gauge whether or not that August 31st date is really going to be met.
Absolutely. I can.
So you'll keep everybody informed?
Yeah, I can
Good.
check in every couple weeks.
Thank you.
With
There's
Middlesex.
still nothing we're going to be
That
able to
work for you
do.
guys?
Well, if they miss the date, then yes, there is.
Well, if they miss the date, right. But if they don't clean up and get out of there by that date and just walk away and leave things other than the marijuana, is there any marijuana on the site now?
There is,
There is.
yep, and that's being processed and it's going to be removed, and I'm happy to reach out to Luke.
You haven't been growing any.
No, growing has stopped, and I'm happy to reach out to you when that happens.
That's fine.
We were growing it until just recently.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
One more thing, I'm sorry. The only thing I'd like to point out too is that I know there was a cease and desist order issued in March. that was completely ignored by MIM and Apical. They continued to grow until the last couple of weeks, because they wouldn't have anything to process if they didn't grow. So that's another of my disappointments with the city. They went months, they meaning the officials, ultimately issued a cease and desist that was laughed at. And here we are in June from March, and now we're just saying, okay, you're leaving, so bye. I mean, what's the sense of code enforcement? What's the sense of zoning laws when we issue cease and desists that are ignored and not followed through? I mean, I just don't understand the purpose of any of it if we're not gonna enforce it. I mean, I understand how the ball got dropped. Forget about that. The ball got dropped, okay? I didn't ask the city if they were following the zoning myself, so I'm not blaming anybody here. My main point is that in the last year, this has been an ongoing situation that has been nothing but promises and lies that ultimately led to a cease and desist being issued, and they laughed at it and kept growing. And everybody just said, okay, well, we'll talk to you in a month, or in a month. And now Mr. Carter says, well, I don't know what you want me to do, we're leaving. And I don't represent MIM, I represent the receiver. So, I mean, it's just ridiculous. I don't understand why the city didn't pursue the cease and desist before now. It's a month and a half since it was issued. It could have stopped them from growing. They processed all that. I don't have any idea how much revenue they generated between March and now, but I bet it's quite a bit. And that's right in their pocket. And they're laughing at all of you and Mr. Bolak and me, because they owe me over $1 million. They've cost us over $1 million in lost revenue, legal fees. We're in bankruptcy because of them. And all of this, again, the ball was dropped, the ball was picked up, and they did it for another year.
Do we have an idea why the cease and desist why it wasn't effective? Well, the alternative is
Well, yeah, I mean, the alternative would be to proceed to enforcement in court, and there are complicating factors there because of the pending bankruptcy proceedings.
How does the bankruptcy affect that? The bankruptcy is Mohawk Drive.
Right, but MIM is involved.
That has nothing to do with the city. It has to do with a tenant dispute.
Well, yeah, I'd rather not get into
Okay.
talking legal
Understood.
strategy.
I just don't understand, because the bankruptcy court keeps saying, we can't do anything. The CCC won't do anything. The city won't do anything. In the meantime, they're just flouting everybody and doing whatever they want and putting money in their pocket. So I just don't understand why everybody's saying somebody else should have done something. Nobody did anything, and everyone's saying, well, we can't do it. So it's very frustrating as a person who has to follow the rules. If I got a speeding ticket and I didn't pay my ticket, I'd lose my registration. You wouldn't hear the court telling me, oh, well, maybe something else, but just try one more time.
Well, again, I think the city reserves all rights to pursue additional enforcement, and I think it would make sense to make it clear to MIM that if they don't follow through with the dates they've agreed to, then there will be legal consequences.
I mean, do we need to give them to August 31st? Is there a possibility they could get out sooner? I mean,
You could shut them down tomorrow based on your cease and desist. They could not process the equipment. You could call the CCC and demand that they throw it all away. But nobody wants to do that.
I mean, why are we letting them dictate the date, I guess is the question.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think ultimately it's up to the council.
All I've been hearing for a year
I
is
guess
it's up to enforcement, it's up to the mayor, it's up to the council, it's in legal, our lawyers are reviewing it. Nobody's doing anything.
Okay.
I mean, I guess that's kind of where I was going when I asked Mr. Carter earlier. It sounded like they would be cleared out of there by the end of this month when he was talking sooner. And then he said they would need additional time to get the equipment out of there. Where does the fact that the bankruptcy court gave them till August 31st to get out of there, if we wanted to move a date up, put us?
So I do think you have independent enforcement authority under the zoning ordinance. So ultimately, I think it's up to the council in terms of what date you guys want to impose. And if they don't follow through, then we would be pursuing zoning enforcement and relief in Superior Court.
So we can have that discussion when we go into a meeting after this hearing.
I mean, I think we need to go to a meeting with a recommendation, right?
The council?
We as a subcommittee
Right.
should be bringing
right.
them a
But
recommendation.
this is a hearing, so we want to do this after the hearing. We will have a meeting, and we'll talk about it. This is still the hearing.
Okay.
Okay, if there's nothing else, we'll close the hearing. I don't think there's any other information we need. We can close this hearing. Have a motion to close it?
Second.
Okay. The hearing is closed. We will have a subcommittee meeting and make a decision on our recommendation to the full council. Thank you, everyone, for attending. Thank you, Mr. Carter, for your input.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Give me a shout after Nick.
I don't need to go into executive session for this, right?
To discuss litigation strategy.
Sounds like whack-a-mole.
Yeah, I mean, if we're going to discuss litigation strategy, it probably should be an executive session.
You want us to go in? Okay.
Was that posted as part of this meeting?
No.
Yes, it is.
Oh, executive session?
If
posted?
required, this meeting may go into executive
Oh.
session. It's right here on the agenda.
Okay.
Okay,
Perfect, yes.
okay. So, yeah, you should entertain a motion then to,
Seconded.
Okay, I agree. Go into executive session?
do a roll
Thank
call
you.
vote.
Roll call, Claire.
Yay.
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 Okay.
It's good to me.
Should we go on that other?
Yeah, just because I think
The Leominster City Council meeting is funded in part by DeCarolis Insurance Agency at www.decarolisInsuranceagency.com and by Avidia Bank at www.avidiabank.com.